Welcome back to Dum-Dums and Dragons, where improvisers who've never roleplayed before journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I am the Great Wizard Bukake, your host. Our heroes have taken over Akkah. Moss has been cursed with lycanthropy. Reginald ate his father. Quinny discovered the evil tyrant's phylactery. And Butthole was forced to kill Grayson Typhus and his mother to take the throne. What will happen now that these heroes have an evil country to run? Find out next on Dum-Dums and Dragons.
After a long winter of the dead walking the face of Faerun, of nations held under the heel of the evil lich Grayson Typhus and his lich bride Emily, the world is starting to come back to life. And pushing through the mud and the muck of formerly frozen earth, a small plant begins to bud, just peeking up ever so gently, reaching up towards the sky, the sun, stretching little itty-bitty little sort of sprouts up towards the nourishing glow of the sun's light, only to be immediately stomped into the ground by boots, rhythmic boots, many boots, marching in perfect unison beneath the flag of a large purple dragon, marching with vengeance in their hearts and weapons on their hips, marching to Akkah. Somehow, the Dum-Dums have taken over a country. We all knew when we had drinking games and stolen teeth that one day it would lead to this, and here we are. The nation of Akkah, having been liberated from the Lich Lord's Lichfall, as it will come to be known across the world of Dum Faerun, the Dum-Dums have been successful in their quest to retake Akkah. But of course, that is still a couple days away. Following the death of Grayson Typhus and Emily, it's not like everyone just threw down their weapons. This wasn't we can just pull down the statue of the Emperor on Coruscant and all the stormtroopers are like, well, nuts. You did it, I guess. I heard that Ewok song, so I guess we're done. There was still the matter of the Black Spikes, or the Dark Spikes rather, and the remaining folks who'd come over through the portal from Grimdark Faerun. Sorry?
Horde people?
Horde people from Grimdark Faerun. Okay. Loyalists and a variety of other folks who put up a fight. So there were basically 3 awkward days between the events of the Black Castle, of destroying the phylactery and ending the reign of the Liches, and getting Akkah back under control. That said, those 3 days were not without difficulty and not without danger. So I'm actually going to have, I would like to know kind of what each of you would be focused on in those 3 days. And then we're going to roll to see how effective the overall situation was, to see what state Akkah is in by the time you gain control of the kingdom. So, Butthole, obviously, as the king of Akkah.
Sorry. It's a lock eyes.
Yeah. Command sits difficultly in your chest. As the king of Akkah, Butthole, you obviously have a very large part to play in this. So I'm happy to kind of let you dictate it, but basically again, you're basically the main threats that we're encountering are misguided loyalists to Typhus and Emily, horde folk who've come over and joined the army, as well as just the general stability of the nation. So what would your orders be, and kind of where do Quinny and Juniper fit into this?
Is Reginald also a part of this?
Yes, of course. Yep.
Okay, Reginald's going to deal with loyalists because everybody likes Reginald. He's like a family name. He's a celebrity. He's also very comfortable lying to people, and he won over like Seraphina Bellwinter, who's a piece of shit. So Butthole would just be like, go make friends. It would also keep him away from combat, so he'd be very focused on that. Quinny, you're on horde elimination because that's what you're good at. Just kill the biggest, scariest one, sneak up, stab him, do whatever you got to do. Just get clever, decapitation, then we deal with the rest. I don't think the horde people are recoverable. They're terrible. You got to deal with that. Juniper, general stability. You just got to make it stable, deal with the people, keep it all together.
Oh, but what does that mean? I mean,
I guess Moss.
Moss here.
Yeah, Moss. Yeah.
I mean, Juniper Juniper I'm sure she could rally people, right?
Okay, well, Moss, you're going to have to channel a little bit of Juniper deep down in your heart and keep things calm. Right? We need organization. We can't have, we got to keep everybody working together. So we got somebody dealing with bringing the loyalists over, and we got somebody going out to kill all the bad people, and then I need you to keep the good people from doing stupid things.
I feel like I'm just going to scare people with the way I look, though.
Well, I mean, they were cheering for the Horde, so I think how people look is really going to be kind of up and down. You could smile more, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, that's fair. And Moss just does this very, forced kind of smile.
Rictus grin.
Yeah.
That's like a net gain, I guess.
Yeah.
Really out of my comfort zone. Can we fix this werewolf thing? Just I understand that's it'll take a bit, but I just want to keep that top of everyone's minds.
Akkah is
Please.
on fire out the window.
I know. It just it's fine. Don't worry about it.
We will come back to it.
I'll figure it out.
And I promise you we'll have much time to deal with all of the aftermath of everything. But this is very much the 3 days of no one sleeps, no one talks, no one does much. So with all those orders in mind, then Juniper, let's start with you. So Moss is going to attempt to bring some stability and basically help lower any panic and kind of keep the crowds under control. I think for this, I'm probably going to want it's definitely going to be charisma. I think maybe persuasion is what I'm looking for here. And this is, again, it's been, I know for all of you listening and watching, it's been like a week. For us, it's been a lifetime since we recorded our previous sessions. Just to refresh everyone's memory about where we're at with Akkah. Akkah has been in dire straits as the army of the undead has gradually come to replace it, as well as the sort of impending allies of the Horde and the desire to move into Horde world fully. And as a result, the nation is in bad fucking shape. People have been demoralized. They haven't gotten to go to war in a long time. They really liked conquering everything. They liked fighting the Planteers. They haven't been able to do any of it. So there is a real danger, as with any kind of liberation of a nation, that people might just fucking leave or riot or anything else. Mm-hmm. So Moss, this is basically you trying to keep things calm while Quinny does the wet work required to bring the city back under control. So let's go ahead with a persuasion check, please.
Yeah, and I think and Moss would, if there's any, if she's encountering people who are, let's see, hesitant or don't trust, maybe they're afraid. They were afraid of the, all of the necrotic shit that was going on and all of the zombies. That Moss will use Aura of Life.
Okay.
She'll cast that just to basically emit kind of an overwhelming sense of there's, you don't have to be afraid of
cool.
Okay.
Of that kind of energy anymore. To just kind of aid her a little bit.
Okay, I'll give you advantage then, because I think given the particular bias against the undead, anyone who is radiating the opposite of that will read as a very attractive proposition.
Cool. And as I leveled up, just to let you know, to level 15, I was reading the book and realized I have access to a bunch of spells that I wasn't using before. So there's going to be new spells from Moss. Yay.
On that note, congratulations on your level, everybody. Just have
thank you.
You're going to have a long
15.
sleep and suddenly gain a bunch of powers from your long questing. Okay. And again, just for narrative's sake, keeping in mind that this is action over a span of days.
Yeah.
So, kind of the montage of what we see. So you can have advantage. Go ahead and roll.
On
please,
persuasion, right?
Moss. Yes, that's correct.
Oh, they're both 15s. Lovely. 23.
23. Okay, great. So with your 23, I'm going to say the population is, they're already kind of the return of the Tingly Boys was a pretty big boon for them. And hearing, that it's going to be fine, and also having someone who is the opposite of necrotic energy around is really, really doing it for them.
Cool.
So a large success for the placation of the populace. Okay, let's go with Reginald and the Loyalists. So Reginald has been tasked with dealing with the people who are tied up in, and Ryan, so I understand your intent. dealing with the people who were like the dark spikes who were going to join up with the horde, or trying to keep like the army in check?
He's trying to keep the army in check. If there's like dark spikes, maybe like Butthole wouldn't be against that, but the priority are like the Seraphina Bellwinters, like anybody who is old regime loyal.
Okay.
He doesn't want them siding with the other side of the Civil War.
So while Juniper's out kind of getting the rank and file in line, Reginald's going after like the lords and ladies and
anybody
people
who's got
who are up in
power
up in
that
power.
could kind of pull stakes and run.
Okay, fantastic. So I'd be inclined. Well, I mean, you tell me. Would he be doing this honestly, or would this be? Because I would basically take deception, intimidation, or persuasion, depending on how you want to try and win over the nobles.
I think Butthole would expect deception, and I think Reginald would 100% go with intimidation, because he's just coming off of having eaten his father and killed the people who were in charge before.
Yep.
And he definitely would not mess with high-ranking people in this kind of world coming in soft or friendly, because these are the scumbags who are likely to leave. So this is according to Horde logic, fear will keep them in line.
Fair enough. All right. So let's get intimidation then.
And knowing that the Tingly Boys have done well, and Butthole is kind of sitting this one out, could I throw a bless on there as the impact of his brother?
Sure.
Dope. That is a 27.
27. Okay. So similar to Juniper, I think just anyone who isn't, horrific necrotic flesh stretched across a skull from an alternate dimension, pretty good option. It's a low bar, but man, it's been a bad ride in Akkah. And as we've established, the people of Akkah were all in on old Reggie. They really thought, probably because he didn't spend much time there, that he was like the shit and was really what they were after. So, Reginald and the Resurrectionists is like a pretty good bet. So the nobility is also already starting to adjust to a new regime. So there's also just the fact of like, oh, you're probably going to be up there. Great, I have to suck up to you, because like what are we going to be left with? Cool. Okay, so you've successfully placated the nobility, and finally, Quinny. How are we doing? How are we dealing with the remaining horde folk? Keeping in mind that like they are not a light problem.
Yeah, Quinny would have a plan based on what I guess King Butthole's goals and Sheriff Juniper's kind of method for keeping peace would be. Quinny's thinking, is there some kind of raiding party that we can put together, some inglorious bastards kind of horde haters, call them the haters, and just Quinny and his haters going through and trying to find horde cells or like encampments or wherever they're trying to like hold up in this dimension. But it's a question of, does Butthole want the people of Akkah to continue to be a warlike people who are so pro-violence and warfare?
I think I would actually make that a roll, because in the chaos of the fall of Akkah, you wouldn't really be able to consult with them. So I think,
okay,
Quinny, I'm going to have you roll a insight.
Okay.
Yeah, Butthole at this point would probably be in the palace, just giving orders, sending reinforcements, like just in full kind of war general, but it means he's not on the front of anything.
I would also give you history if you wanted to go that route, because you can think on what Butthole has espoused in the past.
Insight is lower, but it makes more sense for Quinny to just be, I'm just gutting this.
Go ahead.
Hey, there's the low roll of the game. I'm hearing you two, level 15, 27, 23. That's going to be a 7.
7. Okay, so I think, what would Butthole's intention have been?
I mean, Butthole's intention would probably be like, horde goes unless you can take them alive, but he's not willing to let like good people die to keep the horde alive. Dark spikes, if you could take them, great. Sure.
Yeah, more so mean to Quinny's question of like, because basically what we're trying to ascertain is, with a failed roll, what does Quinny think Butthole wants from the future of Akkah?
I'll obviously get it wrong.
Yes,
yeah.
Well, I want to hear what Butthole does want.
So I think you do the opposite. The smart would be like, kill all the horde, kill Dark Spikes if you have to, bring back prisoners where you can. That's probably where he would have fallen on that.
Okay, so for the failed roll then, Tyler, do you think that would be kill everyone or try and bring everyone in peaceably?
Kill everyone.
Kill everyone? All right,
yeah.
Great.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Cool. So go ahead and let's get, I really want to skullduggery, but that's from a different game. I think for this, let's make it a combat roll because I don't think any of the skills really work.
Sure.
So let's do a combat roll. You said you've got the haters kind of actively stomping through Akkah. In terms of the Inglorious Bastards parallel, are they being that public about it, or is it all like knives in the dark?
I think they are. It's a little bit of both, which don't you love that non-answer? But
And they have guns and swords, and the guns are also swords.
Yeah.
They have all of them.
But I think the reputation of them is a weapon as well. So they are a boogeyman group for the horde to fear, but their methods are subterfuge until it's too late, and then it's over for you.
So in that case, I'm going to want an intimidation and a combat roll.
All right, intimidation roll coming up first. What's my modifier? There it is. So that is going to be a 15.
15? Okay.
Intimidation, and then combat. What would you like my modifier to be? Using a certain weapon? Or...
Yeah, let's just make this standard if Quinny was trying to hit something.
Okay.
Does he have sneak attack?
He does not have sneak attack.
I rolled a natural 1. I'm going to re-roll with lucky.
Yeah.
There we go. That's better. 15 plus 12, 27. There's your 27. There's the level 15 number.
Great. I love that for me. Okay, cool. So
Don't you want us to succeed, Tom?
I do, but if it's too easy, then I could just leave and you could just tell me about your day.
I was going to say,
None
none of us.
about my super strong character.
I like that you think our fear is it's going to be too easy. That's not how any of us feel on this side of the table.
Yeah.
Let us be good at the things we're good at.
We're also
my
not
God.
mad at you except for Laura.
I'm not mad at you.
Ah, shucks. You will be.
Now I'm mad at you.
All right. So, Quinny, with your rolls, the intimidation actually doesn't go. So the combat roll is very effective. So you are like good at driving kind of horde out and killing them. But these are scary, scary people. And the idea of people just like coming for them in the night is like, yeah, that's a night. Like that's how you sleep. Like you've seen how Reginald sleeps in like, I mean, what was it like entrapment level laser scheme? And then just like,
It was like the board game Mousetrap, but for a bedroom.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So over the span of 3 days, kind of with your allies in the city, a lot of fighting in the streets, a lot of blood spilt on both sides, and the sort of final act of the final days of the war was the destruction of the southeast wall. Due to your efforts, it wasn't the entire wall as it could have been, nor were any of the additional structures and buildings in Akkah damaged beyond repair. However, with sort of the clear tide shifting, the sort of de facto leader of the resistance, Morbulus Scorblius the Eighth, used his tremendous power alongside some loyalists who had tapped the wall with explosives to bring it down, and essentially a bunch of them had like hidden in the hospital and the barracks and make a break for it. So a few people did get away. However, you are reasonably certain that the majority of the horde have either been killed by the haters or have escaped into the night. The good news is because the haters were doing things so publicly, even though the intimidation didn't work, it did mean that like horde were more obviously out there to challenge them, so there was an easier target to hit. If it had been all blades in the dark, odds are they would have like some of them just would have got away purely by virtue of not knowing there was something they wanted to fight. But the fact that you made yourselves known meant that they were like, well, fuck these guys.
Okay.
We're stronger than them. So good. Generally speaking, I would say as ending a massive sort of like fight in the streets goes, pretty favorable result for the Dum-Dums. And finally, at the end of the third day, smoke and debris rising from the wall, but already the forces that had been placated by both Reginald and Quinny moving in to secure that portion of the wall. Dum-Dums, you're able to actually take a proper full rest for the first time in what seems like an age, having gone straight from this massive fight to basically being up in the tower, Butthole looking out over the world, everyone kind of having their moment to like, okay, shit, we need to now get this place under control. It is finally under control enough that you feel confident in resting. You all gain a level.
I feel like I don't suffer the effects of old age anymore.
Well, it's been such a problem for you this whole time. It's a shame you don't suffer the effects of werewolf anymore. That one would have been a much more useful.
I feel the same way, actually, but that's just my
Really?
vanity. I'm just above that, you know.
Butthole sitting in his room thinking about it. I just had to kill his mom. You're both trading quips one floor down.
Yeah, and it's open concept, so it's so sad for him hearing the quips echo up to him.
Yeah. So that brings me to my a few points. This was like when our credits would roll. This is like our pre-bump as all of you kind of pull in for the first night. There's a blur in the sky outside as we established in our epilogue to last season as there's sort of a flash and a bunch of vegetation and sort of like fruit and vegetable and produce begin to grow rapidly outside the city walls as the newly reformed Howink Captain Plantier delivers
obvious, Is that obvious?
I mean, you tell me.
Okay.
Butthole knows.
Yeah.
Butthole's not full of any of this shit.
Well, no, yeah. Quinny
Delivers his bounty to the outside of Akkah. You notice that it is outside the city limits, as you'll discover when eventually you reconnect with the Fortress of Forlorn Hope. But around the world, as the dead have turned to ash, the hero who was clearly responsible, Captain Plantier, delivers food and aid as the world begins to heal. So you see that kind of sucks, but it's kind of hard to tell from here. You probably receive reports that there is now a bunch of food growing outside of the city walls, but all of you are too fucking tired to care. So I provided all of you, and we will provide you, dear listener / viewer, with these as well through the Instagram, but with copies of maps of some areas of note. The most important of which for our purposes today is the map of Akkah, the nation you now rule. So the first question I have for you is, to your joke earlier, Ryan, about the open concept fortresses. Where do you guys tuck in for the night? Would you sleep in the Black Castle? Would you sleep elsewhere? What is the place that you all finally collapse into bed? And if it's just like, we don't care at this point because we're too tired, that's also fine. I just need to know for narrative purposes.
Butthole would rock the Black Castle. It's symbolic. It's important. It's also got the best defenses, so no weird assassins are going to be able to walk in the night and take them out if somebody's making a play for power. It's also just the sign of who was in charge, which for him is like, if that's the palace at the center of the nation, that's where he has to stay. Otherwise, trying to dismantle the ideology of the whole thing would be really complicated. Or they're like, there's a new king? Yeah, he's in the bar. Seems like a cool guy. Seems like not exactly what he's aiming for.
Totally
so
fair.
He'd be there. Reginald would also stay with him. It's the most easily defensible position. Unless you got a statement for that.
No, where are you sleeping?
Butthole up in Hell Realm. He's too depressed. He'd just be in that fucking like weird open space bullshit. He wouldn't know what to do. Reginald would just take the bedroom in the bottom of it where everybody hid out before they dashed out to grab stuff.
Okay, so the Archibald and Emily
Sweet.
look sweet. Yep, great. Quinny and Moss.
I think it's not on the map, but if he could find it easily enough, he's exhausted from just the nature of the work he's doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely knackered. But if he could find Gary's old house, he'd stay there.
Yeah, you can find Gary's house.
Yeah? Okay.
Fuck. All right. With the help of, I think the Freebirds would be pretty aware of where that is.
Okay.
You find that it has been tossed, but also left somewhat untouched after that. Like it was clear that Gary wasn't like rousted from his house, but that his house was searched, so everything's kind of wrecked. But you can also tell that the resistance has been kind of keeping an eye on it, and not quite a shrine, but sort of it's a place of power for them. So Kazos, the dwarf who kind of dwarven cleric who ran the thrift shop that kind of was the front for the Freebirds will bring you there. And again, I think people kind of get that your relationship with Gary was special, so they just kind of leave you to it. But yeah, it's fairly sparse. Gary didn't spend a lot of time here, but it's still, it evokes him.
Okay,
which is kind of nice. Okay, and Moss.
I think Moss would spend time. So the corpse pile all went to ash, right?
Yeah. So that site is still there,
Yeah.
but it's one of those weird situations where they'd clearly kind of built. What you can now see if you're near the corpse pile is there's a massive. You can almost think of it like a helicopter landing pad. Mm-hmm. So like a raised dais with like a sort of a fencing around it.
So it's like stone. It's not like dirt.
No, it is
Okay.
it is stone. There was likely something of note here before that was knocked out. Of interest perhaps to you, Moss, is on either side. So on the east and west side of the corpse pile site are the ritual sites, which were kind of raised platforms that were built that have all manner of insignia kind of carved into them and were essentially being used by Morbula, Scorblius, and co. To enhance their powers for raising this amount of dead. Of course, the bulk of the army of the undead that was marching was literally out of hell. It still took a tremendous amount of energy and effort to raise additional bodies. It wasn't like every time someone drops, it just immediately get back up. So those sites are inactive now. It's not like they're sitting there glowing with like evil power, but they are certainly still there. So yeah, you can think of it as like a helicopter pad with two kind of raised, almost like not quite towers because they're not that tall, but like raised platforms. Yeah.
Is there any plant life whatsoever around? Like, because I know you said it was kind of like barren kind of stuff. So I'm just wondering, because what I'd like to do is go to the corpse pile. I would like to cast plant growth and just get things to be like, hey, look, things are sprouting up, things are growing, and then just like pitch a tent and like sleep in there just to be like, as like just a symbolic gesture of like,
I like that. I really
that
like
things are getting better.
Like party wise, you've all picked a really symbolic place to kind of like set up, which I think is really nice. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. So Akkah is sort of like I've described it previously as sort of Sparta-esque in terms of it is in a desert, but because of the amount of magic that's been poured into Akkah, you've got a bit of a like not quite as lush as like a Las Vegas like resort, but a bit of that like we've forced things to grow in a desert that is very, very aggressively anti green lush things. But again, it's a desert. Things grow there. You can absolutely grow some stuff. Cool. It's a harsh climate, but
in that case, Moss would do like the 8-hour spell so that everything within a mile for the next like year would become like better and more productive.
Great. And then you pitch your tent for the night. So
corpse pile, baby.
Great. Okay. So you spend again an evening of just deep exhaustion. I think let's please get a can I get a survival check from everyone, please?
Oh, yes. Oh no, nat 1.
Okay.
6.
Reginald is a 9. Butthole's a 21.
21. Ironically, the only person who doesn't have bad dreams that night is Butthole, having killed his mother days ago. Okay. So, Quinny, I think for you, it's just an uncomfortable sleep. I think after days of skullduggery, sleeping anywhere would be uncomfortable. You have guards outside. Like, I think some of the haters are probably like on hand. I'll also say that you've really won over like a crew of kind of like ne'er-do-wells. Okay. This is like the kind of work that a lot of them sign up for. It's Don Cheadle in Ocean's 11 being like, it's nice to work with proper criminals again. Like, it's just like after all of them, it's literally like the things you've encountered just as Quinny in your various adventures. After all the like, there's a lich lord now. Oh, he also brought, like, we had to use high-tech guns for a bit. It's just like, oh yeah, fucking just grabbing guys and beating them up in an alley. That's our shit. So you kind of have your own little crew, but it's just an uncomfortable night. There's no market disadvantage, just not feeling great.
Yeah.
Reginald, I think this ties into kind of the big question we need to answer for you in the morning, which is without the goo, who is Reginald post goo is concerning, and like sleeping in this. I think it's never been a comfortable sleep for him anywhere in the Black Castle in his own time, let alone here. So just a paranoid evening. Also knowing now that like you can't paint a bigger crosshair on you than like we rule this place now. Butthole again is just probably too tired, I guess. Maybe some.
I mean, you're talking
energy.
about a religious guy who finds symbolism in everything, and this happens in the first night. There's no symbols. That's not great for him.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, bad success.
Bad success.
The nightmares would have been worse. He's just not aware of that, so everything just seems terrible.
Fair enough. I mean, that sounds pretty terrible to me. And Juniper, Moss, you have, I think you just like, you spend an evening sitting across from the dark and just staring at each other. And nothing is, the dark doesn't say anything. It doesn't do anything. It's just literally a night where like you open your eyes, everything looks normal. And then just sitting crouching across from you, staring at you, is the dark. And you hear the howl of wolves, in the distance.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. So because you rolled a 1 and you had such a shitty night, I'm going to give you disadvantage on basically anything where logically you being tired and unsettled would sit. We'll say you have disadvantage on in the coming day.
Is that exhaustion or not quite?
I'm not going to give you a full exhaustion.
Okay.
This is just it's exhaustion light. It's the demo disc of exhaustion. You get to play the first 2 levels, but if you want more, you have to pay for it.
Won't affect all your wills, but some of them.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay. So with that, you spend your first proper evening as the rulers of Akkah. So welcome to season 7 of Dum-Dums and Dragons, a live play RPG podcast where comedians and improvisers who have played Dungeons and Dragons for 6 years venture into the world of Dungeons and Dragons.
Venture into a world that isn't funny anymore.
You awake to a new reality where you have gone from adventurers making your way in the world, putting down roots where you can in Phandalin before its destruction by, the formerly evil Captain Plantier, to the McSquiggly, to finally the Fortress of Forlorn Hope up in the spine of the world. And now you've upgraded to a castle. You now have a castle within a nation that you run, as well as a fortress full of refugees in the mountains, as well as a trail of both friend and foe that you've left across the Sword Coast. Before we get into what running this kingdom is going to look like and all of the various paperwork I have for you,
Jesus Christ.
Butthole, you awake, all of you actually. Juniper, Moss, you definitely do. Quinny, you don't, because you're kind of like, I think, in.
Yeah, where do you want to put me in Gary's house?
So I've got I would say there's a lot of housing kind of north of the marketplace near the Colosseum.
Cool.
So sort of to the northwest is a lot of residential housing. You'll note the barracks are far away from that. That's kind of on purpose to make sure that there's a real separation of like when you're on duty, and when you're not, you're not. So it's an area of town we didn't really get to previously, but near the tavern and the Colosseum, northwest of the marketplace. However, Juniper, you for sure. Sorry, God damn it, Moss, you for sure, and awake to the smell of fire
Oh no.
Of smoke and burning. Butthole, you awake to kind of an aide nearby, ready to give you a report of the day. Who from Akkah would you like? You have a bunch of NPCs you've pulled. Would you want just like someone from the Black Castle to be giving you reports at this point? What would you?
I mean, if it's been 3 days, I have a question, because I have the gem that controls the portal that's up in the suite. Would I have access to the Fortress of Forlorn Hope, where there's also a portal?
You have not been able to figure out how to work the portal crystal as of yet. It takes some doing.
Then I think by default, we're probably looking at Patty Two Eyes, because she's the only woman who he knows would have absolutely no political interests. Because anybody else he brings in has their own narrative to tell. Patty's just here for Patty.
Okay, so Patty is wearing an ill-fitted uniform from the kind of like royal guard of the Black Castle. Obviously, it's been a bit since no one, because Emily didn't really care for the pomp and circumstance of this either. No one since Archibald's proper lead on this would have been making any more of these. So really, it's just like, here's an outfit I found in a closet. And she's made an attempt at the gold dust makeup, but it really is just like she smeared like gold across the top of her face, and black across the bottom of her face, and then she at some point had something to drink in the morning, and so there's just like smears down the side, and she just shows up and doesn't really know how to salute, so she just does a weird variety of salutes in the hopes that one of them is right. And just says, "Oh, Patty Two Eyes reporting for duty, Mr. King Butthole. Here to give you the morning news."
Okay, what's the news?
Well, I got some good news for you. First and foremost, it's pretty exciting. If you smell it on the air, you can smell the success. Meanwhile, Moss, you've awoken to the smell of fire.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I investigate. I jump out of my tent. I want to. Is someone just like doing a little cookout and not managing the wood well, or like is something?
I mean, you're not so far off. The good news is
the hospital burning down? Like what?
What would you call your little is it like an oasis? Is it a garden? What would you? Because I on my map, it's still corpse pile site. What would you call the space you've created?
It'll be the Grove.
The Grove.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no corpse pile, or really what is. Man, I love getting to update the maps. Look at this. Look at us go. Look at us playing D&D. All right. So the good news is the Grove is not on fire.
Oh, that's good.
And but you can see heavy smoke pouring up behind the hospital and the barracks in the distance.
Oh, like where the wall was?
Yep. Where the you can see like beyond. Yeah. So
the hole in the wall.
There's a hole in the wall beyond that, but it's all kind of obscure. Keep in mind, like on my map, there's giant white spaces between things, but there's a lot of buildings and other things between here and there. But pouring in from the southeast. It does smell a little bit like a cookout. Do you want to roll me a perception check? Maybe this is the easiest way to deal with this.
Repeated use of the word cookout is disturbing in a certain context.
Stop it, Tom.
Perception is 10.
10. Yeah, you can't tell where it's coming from. It's just like there is smoke billowing over the buildings. Do you want to start wheeling your way?
Yeah.
Great. You do notice though that there is no. I was gonna say hustle and bustle, but that's the wrong term. Hurrying and scurrying. There isn't. It's not like when a fire is happening, like the fire brigade is like fucking rushing through the streets. Right. Everyone just kind of seems to be going about their day. A lot of people greet you very warmly, having very successfully placated them, and it's just very much like it's the fucking opening of Beauty and the Beast, but in a weird hell world where they're all like greeting you with a bit of a smile, and you can tell that like people are tired, but there really is a sense of like, oh, it's different now. Yeah. Like things are different.
It's just like the kind of gritted teeth, like hello, good day.
It's also like. I also love that it's so funny to me that you're mastering all this because like I don't think Juniper would be greeted nearly this warmly, but it's like, oh cool, yeah, Gary Busey monster, we're down with that. Yeah. This is cool. Hey, what's up? Yeah. You're our monster. We like it. Meanwhile, back up in the Black Castle, Patty Two Eyes says, "So the good news is some jackass came along in the middle of the night and tried to make a bunch of fruit and vegetables grow. And I know we're kind of running low on food, but we're like, oh, no, you don't, buddy. We remember you Planteers and you guys can suck an egg. So we set it on fire."
Okay.
No bad guys setting up anything near us, I say.
Was it outside? I'm in a big sphere, so I can see where this is, right?
Yeah, you can.
When I look out, what exactly do I see?
Yeah, so outside the city walls, you can see a controlled burn of just all of the food that had begun to grow outside the things. Just like on fire, people are standing, like army is standing by. You'd mentioned in our epilogue of not epilogue, but at the end of the last episode, how worried you were about the lack of food for Akkah. Well, there is a cookout indeed. The food is burning.
It's not savable, is it?
You could try. I mean, like it's who knows? Who knows?
Maybe,
who am I to
maybe
say?
the corn just got like perfectly charred on the outside, and we
just
can all
popping
eat it.
away.
Yeah.
The Butthole's going to look at it and be like, okay.
We did real good though, right, my lord? We're not taking gifts from nobody.
And who was the one who organized this with the whole army being out there doing this?
Well, it's not the whole army. It's just like a portion of the army.
But who was the one who ran this portion of the army that's doing this?
I mean, I'd have to go ask, but like it was probably one of your captains. You got a whole bunch of them now because you got the army of Akkah.
Great. I'm going to need you to bring all of those captains to the palace so that we can talk to them about doing things without consulting the leadership of the army or the king.
Oh, okay. So are you General King then?
Well, until I appoint a general, by default, yes, I'm everything.
Okay, follow-up question then from old Patty Two Eyes. Should we just go kill him then? Because that's kind of how we used to do things in the Horde.
Yeah, we're not the Horde anymore, so I'm going to need to meet them and then talk with them, and we'll figure out who are people who are competent and who are people who are tremendously corrupt, and then we'll just kind of sort out one side from the other and deal with it.
Can old Patty Two Eyes have permission to speak and act freely?
What do you want to do, Patty?
Can you roll me an insight check?
Yes, I can. That is a 15.
15. You are getting increasingly used to people kind of looking on your divine being with. You particularly saw this around the Fortress of Forlorn Hope. Looking at your divine being with like a sense of awe, and you're getting a bit of that vibe from her right now. Like she seems to just be bursting with like the desire to express something to you.
Yeah, which is like confusing for Butthole because he's exhausted and depressed and is not in any of the ways he would normally define majesty. Mm-hmm. He's just in uncomfortable armor that he had to sleep in because he doesn't have any fucking clothes here. And he's just like, yeah, go. As in this room, yes. I don't know if you're asking for permission to kill people. Just go for it.
She just throws her arms around your waist because she's very small and hugs you. And just says like, I really think things are going to get better under you, General King.
We can just go with King. The general's implied. You're doing good work, Patty. Thank you for everything.
I'm real sorry I stabbed you when we met. That was a real old whoopsie.
Yeah, well, I snuck up on you while I was invisible and tried to grab you. It feels like I kind of earned that one, and nobody got hurt. So I wasn't anybody. I think I was an enemy of the state, so even legally you're clear. We're fine.
Okay, well, I'll go get those captains. We can have a little tete-a-tete with them and make sure they don't go burning stuff without asking first.
That'd be great. If we try to save some of the food, do you think people are going to hate that?
Well, I mean, you just have to explain your reasoning. I mean, folks around here are pretty good at listening to some scary guy in a castle. So, like, if you're just like, shut the fuck up or I'll kill you, they'll be like, okay, that sounds pretty good. But you could probably also just be like, hey, I'm your king and we need some food. But
yeah, I think if you could just spread this around as kind of a rumor, let's go with they sent us the gift. So we already burned some. So that was like a good fuck you. But now we can steal some of the food, and it's like a trick. So we also have food, and we gave them the finger. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay, so I like that reasoning. That's going to give her advantage. But now we're going to see just how much can Patty Two Eyes spread a rumor. Remarkably well. She's like, I'll get right on it. I'll spread that message like I spread good tidings, which is to say fervently and with great joy.
That's great. Spread that rumor, and then if you could send word to Moss that we're going to have her go through all of the food to see what we can get for seeds for planting things because we're stealing a whole future. And I need the Chief Justice for this whole captain business.
Okay, and to be clear, Moss is the Chief Justice.
Yes.
Okie dokie. Okay, I think I understand that. And then she kind of looks over her shoulder and says, we might have to fill out some paperwork about that, which brings us to the tutorial portion of our day.
Oh my God!
Oh,
What?
fuck.
So, Butthole, you send Patty Two Eyes out to go spread the word, to reach out to your Chief Justice, which of course brings us to the fact that you now rule a kingdom.
Yep.
So we got some rules for ruling a kingdom. This is from the Kingdom Management module created by OD. ODY, you can go find this on the internets. But essentially, as the rulers of Akkah now, you have to manage Akkah now. I'd like to dig into kind of where Butthole's at mentally in a moment, but given that I have this convenient moment to bring up,
I mean, Butthole would at the same time push his own feelings to the side and actually keep a kingdom running. He is aware of Crown weighs heavy. Crown weighs heavy. It weighs heavier than feelings.
So, you have your map of Akkah post-Lichfall that I've distributed to all of you. I've also given you a map of the continent of Faerun, as well as some of the other neighboring continents, to give you a sense of where Akkah lives. In that, for those of you who know D&D lore, we're kind of like in the middle of Anarok, I believe it's called. It's kind of a massive desert in sort of the central continent to the east of the Sword Coast. But to the west of the Moon Sea, if that means anything to any of you. You can also check out that map again on any of the places you'd find stuff. I've also provided you with a schematic of the Fortress of Forlorn Hope because you currently rule two separate things with different needs and different places. Unfortunately, you've not been able to open up a line of communication to them yet. We'll get to that. So from our Managing the Kingdom piece, what I have for all of you is basically the brilliance of this Kingdom Management module. Is that it basically creates stats for the kingdom. So Akkah will have its own stats that you will use when you are attempting sort of major things within the nation. They'll also, of course, kind of reflect the nature of where we're at. So I've made some adjustments based on how things went with kind of securing the nation out of the gate. Because you did so well, those adjustments were very, very slight as opposed to big.
Supposed to be murdering parts of the country in advance.
Yeah. I mean, like, how much wall did you have? How many hospitals were burned? The answer was none. So good news.
Look at us go.
So you have basically a character sheet for the kingdom that I'm going to hand off to Ryan. The main stats we'll be playing with are prosperity, economy, and military. These represent the kind of major pillars of running the nation, and all of those sort of combine to form influence, which is how you will be able to kind of diplomatically deal with people and other nations. Currently, our prosperity, and these again get this sort of standard stat block, skill ability score modifiers that you would get for anything else. So your prosperity is sitting at 10, so you get +0. Your economy sits at 9, so you get -1. Military sits at 6, so that's a -2. And your influence sits at 8, which is a -1.
Oh,
this is to reflect that the army has been left in disrepair as the...
We're just coming out of a brutal civil war.
Brutal civil war. You had armies of the undead slowly replacing the nation. Also, before that, you fought a full war with the Plantiers and the rest of the world. So the military is not in great shape. The economy could be worse, but there has been a lot of looting and pillaging, which is good. Unfortunately for you, the Dum-Dums, though you guys have a lot of money yourselves, you now need to support 2 full children. So that's going to get costly. And in terms of prosperity, weirdly, the nation is actually sitting at not a bad balance, and that's partially because of kind of what you've brought in and stabilized.
What children? What children?
The Fortress of Forlorn Hope and Akkah.
Our 2 big nation babies.
Yeah. Yep, your nation babies.
They're all fine.
One's a lot bigger than the other.
Yeah. The Fortress of Forlorn Hope doesn't get a.
They got Annan.
That is true. She is a massive event. That's why you don't have a sheet. She just runs it.
For the record, not once we're in touch with them.
So there's two other major things you need to know from this handy sheet. One is the buildings and architecture. So there's a lot of different things you can build in Akkah to try and make it work better. Good news is you already have a bunch, as we've established from our previous adventure. A lot of stuff has fallen into disrepair, but what you have out of the gate, you've got the old campaigner tavern, which adds an economy, and basically all these things will add either military, prosperity, economy. They can also cost those things, so cost to build shit.
I'm having flashbacks to like playing Fable 3 and just like not doing nearly enough to like secure my financial future, and
You
just
wanna
like
guess where I drew a
90%
lot
of the world
inspiration
died.
from? Yeah.
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 You want to know a guy who was really good at Fable 3?
I think she already does. So you've got the old campaigner tavern. You have the barracks. You have a garrison. You have stables. You have a watchtower, which we're just kind of calling is like the various watchtowers that you can be all along, depending on how much of a toaster you are. You have the arena. And you have a free vault. So all those are the free buildings that you start with. Obviously, you can't build anything right this minute, but you have those.
Question for continuity. Do we still have the forge?
Oh, yes. You do have the forge. That's correct. I don't think I marked that down, but you do. So that might alter things a little bit.
And sorry, Tom, can you just rename those again?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have this. I'm going to give you guys the sheet. So you can look at all this when we take our break in like 4 minutes.
Lovely.
I just wanted to do it on air so people heard it, and then you guys can give it a read.
Yep. To continue my list of annoying questions, the hospital just doesn't count within this existence of rules because I know we have a hospital in town. Or we had a hospital.
Let me see if there is. Yes, we can add a hospital.
I'm also fine to not if there's not rules for it.
There should be.
So we have the hospital, and then that was...
you know what? No, let's not add the hospital building is there, but all the clerics were traded to Hellrealm.
Yeah, we've got 4 clerics total.
Yeah, it was just like a rat's nest, right?
Yeah. Like people have been left. So no, this is what. You still, and to be clear, you still have access to the buildings you have. These are just the buildings that are affecting the scores.
That have
Gotcha.
value. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
we also have a corpse pile former.
You used to. Yeah, now you have the Grove, which might have some effects on the next thing. So the key to all of this is if you do something so for example, making the Grove grow will absolutely affect the prosperity of Akkah, but not until the next cycle. So theoretically, this is supposed to be played on month-by-month basis. Given that time in our game has always been a little bit more elastic, it'll be more like session to session. We'll see like arc to arc.
Yeah.
Okay. What has changed and how Akkah shifts. And if something big happens in between those things, then like that can also have a drastic effect, and we can just change
if Captain Plantier blows it off the face of Dumfaerun,
he's reformed. The reformed Captain Plantier. Such a good dude.
For some reason, I'm suspicious.
I don't know why.
We dabbled in a bit of this with the Fortress of Forlorn Hope.
Sure did.
Remember, yeah.
Yep, we played a bit with this then. We also played a bit with it back with Neverwinter and the war at that point. But here's where things get even spicier. You have Butthole throughout. Ever since you declared yourself the king of Akkah, you've been slowly putting together a council of people who will run Akkah. And for a long time, it was kind of just an adorable side quest thing you're doing that we all rolled our eyes at. Now you own Akkah, so it's gotten a lot more real. You've been giving out names, which I appreciate. The module has sort of council names. You can feel free to rename them if you want, but they all have kind of a specific purpose. So we've got the steward, who's dealing with kind of like your basic kind of...
It's the president, chief of staff kind of thing.
Exactly, yep. We've got the diplomat, who's going to deal with other nations. You have an architect, whose job is to help rebuild Akkah. You have a general, whose job is to look at army actions outside of Akkah. You have the warden, whose job is to deal with military and kind of town watch and stuff within, which I think, based on the way you've been phrasing it, is probably your chief justice kind of situation for Juniper or Moss. You have the spy master, which you've established as Quinny. Or no, Reginald.
Yes, Reginald. Yeah.
That may change, but yes.
Yep, fair enough. You have the headmaster. So again, like Akkah has only been a nation of war for a long time. The youth of Akkah have pretty much been ignored since the war. Since Typhus showed up, there's been no need to educate the youth because we have corpses.
Jenny can go to school.
You'll need to look at a guild leader of some sort to just take care of like municipal. And again, guild leader and high priest are like later things you can get. They don't.
Yep.
They're non-default, so you don't have Probably, or headmaster for that matter, but you could maybe elect one if you want. There will be kingdom events and boons, but also, perhaps most importantly, you can also rename the country if you feel so inclined. So I'll be handing over the sheet as well as this handy guide to buildings and architecture, additional structures that you can add. They all
light
come
reading.
with a cost.
Oh my God.
The more you add, the lower your economy will drop. And if your economy is in the negative, you can't build shit until you gain more. This is also where we start to bring into stark contrast the infinite money you guys have had for so long, as well as the infinite spell components. So things are going to get a little bit more difficult when it comes to, say, raising the dead, when you have to raise all the war dead and kind of bring the place back under control. So I'll be curious to see where we all land on that. But congratulations, you're the proud owner of Akkah.
Woo!
Thank you.
Congratulations.
He says, taking the paperwork from Patty Two Eyes.
And with the great gravity of sort of what leading a nation will look like, Butthole, what are you repressing right now? What's the idea that you're pushing back, if anything, or is it just like, I don't have time to grieve, I have to deal with job?
Yeah, he's also like Butthole's biggest problem is at this point, and he was starting to have this at the previous, like when we were at the Fortress of Forlorn Hope, when he got a chance to just like bring people back from the dead and avoid all the combat, is he has no interest whatsoever in warfare. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to have to build up a military. He doesn't even really want to have to do this job now that he's got it. He never really wanted the job. He just didn't want bad people to do the job. Yeah. And now it's like, oh, he's taken over a nation that is currently an enemy of the world. He has no allies or friends outside of like the two that are here, but politically, no one whatsoever. He has no past to build upon. He'll have to, if he's going to improve this country, fundamentally change the mindset of everyone currently ruling it. And if he needs to do it fast, and he might, he is going to have to become a tyrant in the short form to save the good people by being kind of a not great guy.
Yeah.
And he's not a fan of any of this. He wants to be a god, not a man. And being a king really forces you to be a fucking morally corrupt man. It's not a job anyone should have. It's not a job that should exist. Now he has to do it.
Cool. Let's see how he does next week.
This show's a comedy.
This episode of Dum-Dums and Dragons features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter, and our DM Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and Dum-Dums and Dragons artwork is by Del Borovic, who can be found at delborovic.com. Our theme songs are And Now for That Massive Coronary and Skipping Through the Orchestra Pit Part 1 by Peter Gresser, and our ad music is No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. But most importantly, we've got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDUMBDICE. And tune in next week for more Dum-Dums and Dragons. Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG It's Big Nick, D&D and Things, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Flea Unit, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia de los Hoodless, Diophasis, Loki Burrito, Squishy Werewolf, Remy, Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.